Our last lesson on the Excel shortcuts would contain all of the other shortcuts that we haven't mentioned previously. And the first one would be the find key. So probably most of you already know this function. Use it in maybe Word or PowerPoint or even on Chrome or some application related to web browsing. So Control F, it's the same with Microsoft Excel as well. So if you want to find cash, all you have to do is type in cash and press enter, and it's going to move the cursor to the cell that you have found. So that's the find function. Of course, you can also find numbers. You can also find within formulas. So for example, let's say you have an array of external links from other sheets, and what analysts often do is we want to find only the cells that have external links to the other spreadsheets. What we would do is we would press Control F, put in an exclamation mark, because usually links that have that are connected to other sheets have exclamation marks in their formula. So we would press an exclamation mark and try to find the cells that have those in. Another function similarly is the replace function. So the replace function, you use Control H to go automatically to that function. You could type whatever you want to find, and you can type whatever you want to replace it with. So for example, if you want to replace revenue to sales, those two are the same words. If you want to change these two and be consistent with your terms in your financial model, you can do this. Press Alt A to apply replace all, and it says it made 2 replacements. Probably it was here, and one more was under unearned revenue. So you don't want to use that function to replace everything, because obviously unearned revenue should be called unearned revenue. It's not going to be called unearned sales. It's very odd to call it that way. So when you're using the replace function, we do have to be slightly more careful. Next, we have a function to insert notes. For example, if you want to insert notes on 2022 EBIT, for some reason it's very low, you want to press F2 and the shift key. So the shift key and the F2 key together creates a note that you could leave. You could say decrease EBIT due to something, and press the ES key, the escape key, and now it shows that you have a note hidden within that cell. So the shift key and the F2 key, the function 2 key, to insert notes quickly. And of course, when you're deleting it, you could use your mouse. Of course, there are shortcuts to deleting notes as well, but I think it's too much. I don't think it's that necessary to learn how to do that. Next, we have a function on freeze panes. So by freeze panes, what we mean is that we want to freeze these rows and these columns, so that even if you're doing some tasks down here, we know what years we're looking at. And same goes for horizontal movements as well. If you're doing something over here, we cannot see what line items we're working on, especially if the model has some monthly components or some quarterly components. It's going to be very long horizontally. So what we want to do is we want to freeze the columns and the rows. And how you would do that is you go to the cell that you want to freeze. So where the upper line of the selected cell and the left line of the selected cell creates a freezing point. So you want to select N12 in our case, and the shortcuts would be Alt W FF to freeze panes. And now you can see that if you go down, the first 11 rows are frozen, so we can see from anywhere what year we're working on. Same goes when we're moving to the right. We can see that the first 10, 11 columns are just frozen. To unfreeze these panes, you do exactly the same, Alt WFF just once more, and it unfreezes the panes. Next, we have our shortcuts on our superscripts and our subscripts. We use these when we make notes or comments. So for the superscripts, let's press F2 to edit the cells. Let's say that we want to make a superscript that looks like this. How you would do this is you would select these numbers, perform Alt H Fn for a format cells pop-up. We want to select superscript for under the effect. So Alt E will automatically check your options, and if you press enter, now it created a small superscript here, as you can see. Same goes for subscripts as well. Alt H Fn and Alt B simultaneously for subscript. If you press enter, you can see that it created a subscript down below. All right, and our next function would be to change the rows within cells. What it means is that, for example, if we have on the left units in billion-dollar terms, and if you have a merged cell like this, sometimes you want to type in unless stated otherwise. Let's say we want to type in unless stated otherwise, the phrase, but you want to switch rows. You want to write that below this units. But if you press the enter key as usual, it just simply moves to the next cell. So that's very inconvenient. So what we would do is we would press the Alt key and the enter key simultaneously. So Alt enter will let us to switch the rows and lets you to write underneath the original data unless stated otherwise. So there are going to be instances where you have to change rows within cells and write something there. So you want to remember this shortcut as well. It was Alt enter pressed simultaneously. Of course, as I mentioned in our first part of our Excel 101 course, there are numerous Excel functions and numerous Excel shortcuts that exist, but it's not necessary to learn them all. The ones that I've gone over for the past 15 lectures, maybe 1 or 2 hours, are only the essentials, the essential shortcuts and the essential functions that we have to know in order to perform financial modeling in the future, and in order to keep up to our lectures in our financial modeling 101, 201, and other courses that you will be taking. So that's it for now. We might be adding some more contents in our later lectures, but that's it for now. We've learned the other shortcuts. We've learned how to use the find key, the replace key, the insert note shortcuts. We've learned how to use the freeze panes functions and how to unfreeze as well. And the superscripts and the subscripts. And lastly, how to change rows within cells by using Alt and Enter. All of these functions are functions that I don't think is super important, but these will come up from time to time.